It's not clear when Marjorie dumped Darnell, but we know that she reconnected with Steve in 2005. And by this time, Steve had achieved success with The Steve Harvey Show, which prompted Marjorie to reconsider their relationship. Now, as for the recent rumors about the cheating scandal involving Marjorie and Steve's employees, sources close to MBJ are saying he always suspected something like this would happen because Steve is too weak. And Marjorie knows he will never leave her no matter what she does. During his speech at the recent business conference in Atlanta, Steve slammed the rumors about Marjorie and claimed that his marriage is fine. "I've always loved black people. I've always loved my people. Y'all belong to me, and I belong to y'all. Before I get started, just let me say I'm fine. Y'all, is it me, or is Steve Harvey doing damage control after all those cheating allegations?" Well, Steve Harvey has finally broken his silence on rumors that Marjorie cheated on him. And while he claims his marriage is as strong as ever, honestly, I and several others are not convinced. So in case you missed it, reports recently appeared on social media that Marjorie cheated on Steve with his bodyguard and his personal chef. Some days I'd be willing to trade my man for a really good one. Boy, what did you just say? And while Steve is now denying these rumors, knowing Marjorie's history, it really wouldn't be that shocking if she really did cheat on him. Also, we all know Steve worships the ground Marjorie walks on. And I don't know about y'all, but I can totally see Steve forgiving Marjorie if she actually cheated. But is there any truth? Marjorie had affairs with Steve's employees, and is Steve pulling on Wendy Williams, and too embarrassed to admit he got played? Let's get into it. Sometimes you just wanna respond, but I ain't got no time for rumor and gossip, man. God be good to me. So several outlets recently reported that Steve's wife, Marjorie, got caught cheating with Steve's bodyguard and his personal chef. Meanwhile, other sources also claimed that Marjorie is already planning to file for divorce and take half of Steve's fortune. Right now, rumors are swirling, trending on Twitter, that Marjorie cheated on Steve with his bodyguard, and not only does she want a divorce, but she also wants $200 million. So if these rumors are true, I can't say I'm happy that Steve got cheated on, because no one deserves that. But since Steve has been dishing out marriage advice for years, and constantly bragging about how perfect Marjorie is, let's just say I can't help but soak up the irony. But am I surprised Marjorie would do something like this? Not at all, because if there's one thing that people should know about Marjorie Harvey, it's that she's been a player her whole life. Before Marjorie rebranded herself as Steve Harvey's glamorous wife, she was busy hustling in these streets, dating drug lords, and trying to stay out of jail. I know it's hard to imagine that Marjorie lived like that before she met Steve, but facts don't lie. To give you some context, Marjorie first met Steve in 1990 at a comedy club in Memphis, and Steve apparently knew right away that Marjorie was the one. So I came down front with my girlfriend. Our seats were right here at the front, right by the stage. So we were sitting here, the stage was here, so he's just quiet. He just keeps staring at me. So I'm waiting on him to make me a part of the show so we can get on with the show. So he stayed quiet so long, staring at me. Now everybody in the club was looking at me, so he finally realized, okay, I gotta say something. He was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna marry her." Marjorie, however, needed something more from Steve than just words. And though they dated for a short while, Marjorie reportedly dumped Steve because he was taking a little too long to get his money right. However, Steve and Marjorie reconnected in 2005. And by this time, Steve had secured the bag, and Marjorie suddenly realized he deserved another chance. But see, Marjorie wasn't wasting any time. while Steve was busy building his career, and between breaking up with Steve for the first time until their reunion in 2005. Marjorie got married and divorced twice to two drug lords. She first got married to Jim Townsend, and during the 1990s, both Jim and Marjorie came under investigation from the FBI and DEA due to their suspected connections to illegal drug operations. Marjorie reportedly gained the nickname Lady Heroin in the Harlem Nights. According to one report, investigators informed Jim that unless he cooperated with them, Marjorie would face arrest because they had evidence of her own illegal activities. Though Jim apparently cooperated with authorities to protect Marjorie, he got the short end of the stick and was sentenced to life in prison. He ended up serving 26 years before President Obama pardoned him in 2017. Meanwhile, Marjorie had already moved on. After filing for divorce from Jim while he was still in prison, she married Darnell Woods, Jim's distant cousin, who was also a drug dealer. Marjorie and Darnell had one child together, Lori. While not much is known about Darnell, some reports claim he's still in prison. It's also not clear when exactly Marjorie and Darnell separated, but we do know that she reconnected with Steve in 2005. Since Steve was already an established name at that point, she decided he was a much better match for her than Darnell. Steve and Marjorie tied the knot in 2007, and Steve adopted Marjorie's 3 children from her previous 2 marriages. Steve also had baggage of his own. Before reconnecting with Marjorie, he had also married and divorced twice and fathered 4 children. From his first marriage to Marcia Harvey, Steve has twin daughters, Brandy and Carly, and one son, Broderick Harvey Jr. According to Marcia, Steve left her and their 2 daughters while she was pregnant with Broderick. Marcia also reportedly suspected that Steve had cheated on her with his next wife, Mary Shackelford. Mary later ended up accusing Steve of cheating on her with Marjorie. Steve and Mary got married in 1996 and had one son, Winton. They divorced in 2005, shortly after Steve reconnected with Marjorie. Mary later alleged that Marjorie convinced Steve to cut all ties with her and take away Winton. Mary also claimed that Steve was unfaithful, and she said it was disturbing how quickly Steve dropped her for Marjorie. I think about how quickly he moved forward from me to Marjorie. That was disturbing. What's even more disturbing is that Mary claims Steve took Winton and turned him against her. She also alleged that Steve, apparently on Marjorie's advice, used his money and influence to manipulate the courts and basically left her on the street, broke and homeless. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.